Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are NLP Ghana, and we are here to talk about English-Twi parallel corpus for machine translation. So as our agenda today, we will first introduce you to what NLP Ghana is, and then we will dive into the corpus that we are presenting, the English-Twi corpus specifically. And that will be divided into 5 sections where we first introduce you to the language background, and then we address the parallel corpus we built and the details behind it. Then we describe the methodology of creating it, and then some evaluations we did on it, as well as some other results associated with it. We will then conclude and make a call to action. So, what is NLP Ghana? NLP Ghana is a collection of like-minded volunteers interested in advancing the state of NLP technologies for Ghanaian languages. They have dedicated their skills and time to this open source movement. We are specifically interested in building an ecosystem of people helping each other to build open source data sets, open source computational methods, and also supporting each other in an ecosystem to keep advancing the state forward. So far, we have some achievements we can point to show that we have been doing something useful. We have built an Android and an iOS translator app, and that is partly based on the work we are talking about today, which you can download right now and use to translate the most popular Ghanaian languages between English and that language. We also participated in a Zindi challenge, again, which is related to the work we are presenting today, where we actually were part of the winners of the challenge. And this yielded the funding to complete the work that we are talking about today.
Let us look at the background or the description of the language we are looking at, which is Akuapem Twi. So Ghana is a multilingual country, and it has over 75 languages spoken. Of these languages, Twi is the most spoken. This language is spoken in the southern and central parts of Ghana, as well as some areas in Côte d'Ivoire. It is estimated that there are about 20 million native speakers. However, let's take note that these 20 million speakers are not just first speakers, but they are a combination of first and second speakers of Twi. Akan is a tonal language, and it comprises of at least 4 distinct dialects. We have Asante Twi, Akuapem Twi, Fanti, and Bono. Akuapem Twi is an Akan dialect from the Niger-Congo-Putu-Tano family cluster. It was the first Ghanaian language to achieve literary status with its transcription of the Bible. And that is the main reason why we are taking this language and translating it. It is spoken by the Akuapem ethnic subgrouping in the eastern region of Ghana and some parts of Côte d'Ivoire. There are about 630,000 speakers of Akuapem Twi in Africa. Let's have a look at what an English-Twi parallel corpus for machine translation looks like. A parallel text translation corpora is a structured set of translated text between 2 languages. So we have an example for you. So in English, we say God's grace. And in Twi, we say Onyame Adom. Please tell me where the bus stop is. In Twi, we say me paucho chemi baby wafakaino. Come home, brefie. The objective of this presentation is to present 2 distinct parallel corpora, English Akuapem Twi, to the NLP community. The relevance of our work is that our data collection methodology is the first of its kind in addressing the gap in NLP technologies in Ghanaian languages.
So let's talk a little bit about the methodology that we employed to collect the corpora. So there are two distinct components to this corpus. There is a crowdsourced data, and there is the machine translated data that was corrected by native speakers. So let's address the crowdsourced data piece first. So the way we did that is we built some Google Forms and we sent it out to the public, and we asked the public to contribute through these forms to translate random English sentences to Twi. This was then verified and corrected by our internal team at Ghanaian NLP, but we didn't do any scoring on it. The machine translated data, on the other hand, was generated by drawing a random sample of about 50,000 English sentences from tatoeba.org. We then built a transformer-based machine translation model using the transformer library from Hugging Face to translate this into Twi. Specifically, we use the Marian NMT open source set of models. This has a lot of low resource languages in it because it was trained on the Opus Corpus and JW300 dataset. It doesn't have all directions or all languages, so you have to do some plugging of the gap. However, it was a very good starting point to build our model. After building the model, we tuned the hyperparameters, and after translating it, we shared the translated corpus with our internal workers, linguists, first speakers, who then corrected any of these translations.
All right, so on methodology, we distributed the translation, the machine translation to 10 of our NLP researchers for them to score, verify, and correct them. So we aimed at translating 50,000 sentence pairs. The 10 researchers were given 5,000 sentence pairs each for revision. And each reviser or each researcher was compensated $1 for 50 sentence pair scoring, verification, and corrections. This step was necessary. It's actually crucial because machine translation comes with its own challenges, especially when it comes to translating into low resource languages like Akuapem Twi or a minority language like Akuapem Twi, as seen in the example below, where the source text, which is English, is translated, the source sentence, "I've gotten better," is translated as "Meniajiye," which is an automatic translation. Meniajiye is actually a mistranslation of the source sentence, the source text. So the intervention of the human translator is necessary here, where this error is rectified as "Mehwatomi," which is natural in Akuapem Twi. The second example is "How did it go last night?" which is the source text in English, is rendered by the machine translation as "Eyedena adichinye," which is also not so clear and needs a human touch. So it's revised as "Enwa anajo ekosi sen," which is natural in Akuapem Twi. And in the corpus, several translation strategies were used based on the difficulty, the kind of translation difficulty encountered. And the major strategies observed are usually common when there's translation into a low resource language like Akuapem Twi or a minority language like Akuapem Twi. So the major translation strategies observed in the corpus include borrowing, equivalence, cultural substitution, translation by a more general word. Borrowing is common because sometimes the difficulty involved in terminology makes it a necessary strategy in terms of makes it a necessary strategy in this context when we are talking about minority and minority language like Akuapem Twi. So we have words like Paris, Boston, Australia, and camera, which are English words, and they are borrowed completely into Akuapem Twi in terms of phonology and orthography, as seen in the slide. Other words like coffee, computer, and gas are borrowed but given a local color, just to reduce the foreigners and for the native speakers to easily identify with them. And so these words are borrowed, the phonology of these words are borrowed, and the orthography of Akuapem Twi maintained, at least to give it a local color. And so you can see it from the spellings, the orthography, coffee, computer, and gas. There is also an attempt to provide several translations of the same source item in different contexts. So a word like welcome, which is one source item, is rendered as if akwaba in one context and in another nasing niho in another context.
Okay, let's now talk about evaluation, how our work was evaluated. In terms of evaluation, we use a test data set, which is a crowdsourced data set of 697 English sentences and 697 Akuapem Twi references. The scoring metric that we used was the blue score, and we achieved 0.72, that's 72%, using the following parameters: a smoothing function of 7, auto reweight of true, a weight apple of 0.5800, indicating the focus is more on the adequacy of the translation instead of the fluency. This was a technique that was used, mentioned by Papine, 2002 blue score. So the blue score is actually found in the Python NLTK library, and that's where we use it from. So where does it stand in comparison to the Opus MT model before we fine-tuned? So before we fine-tuned the Opus MT model, we had a score of 0.694. So using the same parameters, indicating that our model, scored better, which is an improvement of 3.75% over the Opus model. How does that translate into results? What result we get? So in terms of results, in terms of the data set that we had, first of all is the human verified corpus, which we had about 25,000 English word sentences count, which is related to 25,421 sentence as well. And the word counts there for English 163,000, for Akuapem is 170,000, and the unique count of words for English around approximately 130,000, and then that for Akuapem is 132,000 there. For the crowdsourced data, which the smaller data set, which is mainly for our testings of high quality, that's actually 0.97 sentence pairs with respect to the Akuapem Twi, which you've already seen. So in this, we have a word count of over 3,000 for English, and then for the Akuapem, we have about 6,700 thereabout, with unique counts for 2005 and then 1,200 for Akuapem and English respectively. So what does this mean? How do the results stand? The resulting data set that our models produce are largely acceptable and very accurate. However, we do appreciate that the translation for machines by these fine-tuned transformers they are very good grammatically, but when it comes to idioms and stuff, there is a bit of human touch. That is the reason why we employ human touch in post-editing, as you've already seen in the previous slides, so that the accuracy of these translations and the tests that we give out are very, very higher, or very high. So there's also the need for us to pay attention to some cultural sensitivity by providing alternative translations to taboo words, and also other keywords or that relates particularly to the Akuapem Twi and Akan in general, so that the corpus is much enriched once a human has reviewed it, and it remains very crucial and accurate for NLP work.
So we faced a number of challenges in this project. And one of the major challenges we faced was compensation for our revisers or our researchers who volunteered to translate or to revise these translations. So normally, a professional translator takes between 100 to 300 cedis per page. And our translators took less than that amount. That means they were not compensated as they should. And another major challenge was time constraints. 2 months for translating 50,000 sentence pairs was ambitious, especially when most of our researchers are students and workers. But it's also challenging in terms of language pair, where English is a well-resourced language and Akan or Akuapem Twi is a low-resource language, a minority language. It comes with extra challenge. And so the time was not enough. The third challenge we faced was mistranslations at certain parts or certain sentence pairs. So an example is in entry 86 of the human verified data, where turn on the gas in English is rendered as "Fawenisi gas no so," which is a mistranslation. The sense is completely different. Keep an eye on the gas. A more appropriate translation might be "Sogasno."
Okay, so in the way of conclusion, we just want to summarize most of the things that we've discussed in this presentation today. The first thing that we would want to highlight is that we found translations of the crowdsourced and verified data to be largely accurate and acceptable. These were verified by experts, researchers, and linguists in the NLP Ghana community. We do appreciate the fact that there's still a lot of room for improvement and the need for further improvement to the presented corpus. However, this data set provides a huge milestone in the natural language processing area of research. In order to contribute towards the growth of the African natural language processing community, especially in the area of research and development, we have made the dataset publicly available via the link in the presentation slides. This is to enable other people, other researchers, scientists to also have access to the dataset and also build models around the data that has been collected. These milestones or this work so far wouldn't have been possible without the collaboration or the help of our sponsors and partners. Would like to acknowledge Microsoft. We've partnered with Microsoft in providing cloud services, especially on the Azure platform for our machine learning tasks and others. Would also want to acknowledge Knowledge for All, Zindi Africa challenges. The challenge that we won, and that's hugely facilitated the corpus that we are presenting today. We would want to also acknowledge GIZ, Fair Forward, IDRC, Data Science for Social Impact, and Strathmore University for partnering and sponsoring us so kindly. We are active on social media. You can find us on almost all the social media platforms. You can find us on Twitter. The link is in the presentation slides. You can also find us on LinkedIn. We also have an Instagram account. You can find us on Facebook and also on GitHub, where we have hosted code repositories where you can easily access CASA library amongst other libraries and other models that have been put on the GitHub profile for other researchers and scientists to also have access to. So make sure you follow us on our various social media platforms to stay tuned and be up to date with the developments that NLP Ghana has to bring to the community. There are a number of resources available online that you can access to get to know about the work that NLP Ghana is doing. First, as I mentioned before, you can access all the CASA library. All code for the works presented are available as part of the CASA API. You can find that on our GitHub account, and the link is in the presentation slides as well. You can read more about the work on word embeddings and other articles that have been written, and more ones that will also be written about the work that we are doing on our Medium account. Link is in the presentation slides, natural language processing GH. You can also view a dynamic visualization of the tree embeddings that was built using TensorFlow in the link in the presentation slides as well. If you'd like to join us, you can check out our website, GhanaNLP.github.io. We welcome anybody who is interested in developing the natural language processing Ghana group. We are welcoming scientists, researchers, students, developers, anyone who has an interest to join us. So you can join us through the website, or you can contact us using our email address, naturallanguageprocessing.gh@gmail.com. Okay, this brings us to the end of this presentation. I'd like to say a big thank you from the NLP Ghana group. We appreciate you viewing these slides. Thank you so much, and do stay connected to all our updates. Do have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.